Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and this is day 19 of the 80 Days to Your Dream Body course. Today's protein source is going to be rabbit, and today is going to be a shoulders and arms training routine. And the theme for today's workout is going to be assisted PNF stretching. So right now, I'm going to be demonstrating some more assisted PNF stretches. Now let's get started. And while we are resting, let's continue with the PNF demonstration in prone position. And for this stretch right over here, the last exercise that we did, we ended up focusing on the hip flexors. Once again, we're going to be focusing on the hip flexors with this particular stretch, but we're going to add a little bit of a modification from the previous stretch to really hammer home the psoas major in this position. If you recall, with the previous stretch, we did straight extension to stretch the flexors, and then we also took them into abduction to stretch the flexors. The psoas major, it's responsible for flexion, adduction, and lateral rotation. So we had two out of the three components. Now we're going to add in the third, and that's really going to take it to a next level for the psoas major. But what we would want to do is same hand positioning. You could either go straight up. For me, I like to go perpendicular to the spine because it's a little bit more comfortable in this particular stretch. But with the moving hand, what I would do is I would go at the distal femur, and then with the tibia and fibula, I would just sandwich it right in between my bicep and my rib cage. What I want to do for this one right over here is same thing. So we're going into hip extension to stretch the flexors, and then instruct the patient, inhale, bring your knee down to the ground. They would inhale, contract, and then exhale, relax, and take them deeper into the stretch. Then we could take them into abduction, and then instruct the patient, inhale, bring your knee toward the inside, and then they would inhale, go into adduction, and then on the exhale, traction, and take them into abduction. And then what we would do if we want to target the psoas major even more intensely is we would take them into medial rotation by just leaning back. When we lean back, we're going to get a little bit of rotation, medial rotation. And because the psoas major is responsible for lateral rotation, we're now targeting all three of its actions at the hip. So what we would do is just lean back and then tell the patient. You could either tell them, I want you to inhale and rotate your thigh out, or I want you to inhale and I want you to press with your ankle. Either way, it's going to elicit the same response. Just see which cue does the job. But if they prefer to just rotate their thigh, they would rotate their thigh out. And then you would just lean back to get them further into medial rotation. And then from here, we could do a combination of all three. So inhale, bring your knee down to the floor. Go into adduction, bring your knee in. Bring your thigh out, rotate your thigh out. And then we would reverse everything. So we would go into, and on the exhale, they would relax, and we would go into hip extension, abduction, and medial rotation. So now we're hammering home all three of the actions of the psoas major, and this is going to really, really be beneficial for anybody that has a lot of restrictions in the psoas major. Definitely give this one a try for anybody who's restricted. But aside from the psoas major, we're also going to be hitting the iliacus as well, and as well as the rectus femoris. With the rectus femoris, we're hitting the proximal attachment because, again, the rectus femoris, I cannot state this enough, it attaches at the anterior inferior iliac spine, as well as the patella, so it's responsible for both knee flexion and knee extension. Because the knee is already extended, the distal fibers are put on slack, so all of the intention is going to be at the proximal attachment of the rectus femoris. But aside from that, we're also going to be getting some stretch in the sartorius, the tensor fasciae lati muscle, and the pectineus, and a little bit of the adductor longus and brevis as well. And to a much lesser extent, we are going to be getting some stretch in the gracilis, the adductor magnus, more specifically the anterior fibers of the adductor magnus. And as we go more into abduction, we will get a little bit more of the anterior fibers of the adductor magnus, but in the neutral position, not too much. And then we will also be getting the anterior fibers of both the gluteus medius and minimus. But our rest period is up. Time for set number 4. That was just a tiny taste of what can be found in my members only section. If you enjoyed it, become a member for only $5 a month to get access to hundreds of member only videos.